Hi and welcome back to another video in the R Model Railway series. Well, I have a pack of windows, a window template and a photograph, so I guess it's time to start scratch building that station. Well, first of all, I'm sorry if the sunshine we're having is interfering with the filming of this video. I don't suppose I should be apologising for a little bit of sunshine after all the bad weather we've had so far at the beginning of this year. So let me just explain why I've got to in terms of building or scratch building the station and why I need to do that about now. Well, some of you will remember from the last video that I was building the platform. Well, that platform has got to the stage where I need to put the top on it, so we need to work out how wide it's got, and I thought that would be simple enough. There must be lots of forums out there that explain how wide a platform needs to be, particularly for a small branch line station. But it appears that the platform width can vary. I suppose that's fairly obvious, but the only thing that I can find in terms of how you can judge how wide it will need to be is based on the distance between the edge of the platform and the nearest building. So the nearest building in my case is going to be the station, and I understand that the distance between the edge of the platform and the station needs to be about 6 foot. So I need to understand how big the station is going to be in order to work out how wide the platform needs to be, which means I need to at least get a dummy or a model of the station done in order to work out the width of the platform. So here's the photograph. Hopefully those of you who watched earlier videos would have seen this picture, and this is the station that I'm hoping the little drawing will look like. As I said, so the width between, or the width of the platform depends on, really I suppose, on the distance between the edge of the platform here and the front of the building, and the building that's going to be furthest forward from my point of view is going to be the station. So the distance between there and there needs to be about 6 foot. So and then I can then work out the distance for the size of the platform, because in effect particularly this end of the platform goes to the back of the building. So I need to build at least the outline of the station before I can work out the width of the platform. So that's what I plan to do. First time I've ever had an attempt at scratch building, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes. So what I'm going to do now is just get the card in that ready and start laying it out ready to start scratch building. And in the meantime, why don't you have a quick look next door and see how the layout is actually going. Well, that looks really interesting. Let's hope the building of the station goes reasonably smoothly and according to plan. It'll be interesting to see how that develops. Well, here we are back in the main room where the model railway is going to be built. What I thought I'd do is just show you where we've got to with this so far. If you remember the last time we were in here, we had connected both the two baseboards together. However, I have come up against a slight technical hitch, which means I had to rejig things slightly, and I'll just explain that to you now. So here are the two baseboards as you might remember them. However, this baseboard here isn't the same as the one that I had originally. If you remember rightly, the original baseboards when they were upstairs ran straight through. So there was one here and then the other one ran straight on. And what I had to do when I moved in here was to move the baseboards round. So this one ran at right angles to the main one, which it wasn't doing before. And then I connected them together and wired it all up and got that ready. However, then when I was laying out the track into the positions where I wanted it, as I suppose the law, Murphy's Law would have it, wherever I put the points that would fit in with the track plan that I had in mind, if you remember it, wherever I put the points, the cross member on the baseboard frame was going to get in the way of the point motor. I've tried to jig it, I tried to move it slightly, I tried to put the points slightly different place, but no matter where I put them, one of them, whether it was this one or the one that was branching off, the cross member was going to get in the way of the point motor. So in the end, all I could do was to take the baseboard that was originally here out, rebuild a new one, making sure that this time the cross member of the main frame was in a slightly different place, so it wasn't going to interfere with where the point motors were. And so that's what I did. I rebuilt this one. So this board here is actually a different board and a new one that I just built. And I then laid the cork matting over the top. I did that exactly the same way as I showed in one of the earlier videos. So it's lots of PVA glue, lay it across a bit at a time, pushing it down, weighing it down, giving it plenty of time to dry. So that's all done. What I now intend to do is to check where I need all the points to go, mark those out, and then I can start drilling the holes and fitting the point motors, which is not a job that I particularly enjoy, underneath the baseboards, trying to fit the point motors and getting them working correctly. But that's what I plan to do now. In the meantime, while I'm setting up and getting all the tools and that ready, what I'll do is hand you back to the workbench, and we can have a look at how we're going to do the station from scratch. So I'll meet you back here once you've had a look at the station. So building this station, where do I start? I had lots of thoughts about trying to measure this and working out the width of that, and trying to work out the scale, and I'm sure there is a really easy way of doing it. I know some people count bricks, but one of the areas I was looking at suggested that, and when I was reading, suggested that always start with the windows. So I had a look at the windows and went online to see if there were any windows that look similar to that, and actually what I've got is a pack of windows here. I hope you can see these. They're white windows. I will put on a link to where I got them from within the video. So I've got some windows, and with it I also bought the equivalent template. So the template obviously enables you to get the size of the window when you're cutting out the model, and so what I thought I would do is, this is now gives me some idea of scale. So that size is roughly the size of the window here in terms of how it will look on my model. So then what I did was I looked at the where the windows were placed. So I could have counted bricks obviously, but I looked at where the windows were placed, and the top of the windows is roughly in line with the top of the door. So I then went online to see how the height of a door in millimetres for OO scale. So I assume the door was roughly a sort of common size door on the station. So once I've got that size, I could then could put the door onto the station and then line the top of the windows up with the door. And what I thought was the distance between the door and the first window, and the first window and the second window and the second window in the edge, is about the same width of a window. So in other words, that's about the width of that window. That area there is about the same as that there, and that area there is about the same as that there. So with that in mind, I thought I could then transfer this onto a piece of card, have a look what it looked like, and see if it looked about right in terms of the front of the building, and if it does, I can then start using that as my scale for the model. So that's what I plan to do now. Well, I've got the card ready. This is where I got the windows from. It was York Model making. Again, as I have previously said on other videos, every time I've ordered something it's come through very quickly, and York Models were no different to any of the others. So I've got some fairly thin card, and I intend to make sort of a mock-up of the station first, and then I'm going to try and do it in some plastic card. I think that's what I'm thinking, rather than using the printed sheets over the top, which I've used on the platforms. I've just drawn a line straight along the bottom to give me the base of it. Also on there, on the York Model website, when you get you can order the various windows and bits and pieces. One of the things that it does is it gives you the rough dimensions of the various bits and pieces. So I had a look on their website to see what the rough dimensions of a door was, and it gave me the dimensions of about 33 millimeters by about 14 millimeters. So what I thought I'd do is just use those as the basis for the door, just to get a sense of what it might look like. So what I'm going to do now is just to draw the door on and then start laying out the positions of the windows. Well, there's my rough sketch of a door. Hope it looks a little bit like a door. As I said earlier, I'm going to use the top of the door as a guide for where the top of the windows are going to go. So it allows me to sort of judge the scale. And if you have a look in this picture, I will show you what I mean. So the top of the door is roughly in line with the top of the windows. So that will give me a sense of where the windows ought to go. So you can see what I mean. So the top of the window would go roughly at the top of the door. So if I now draw a line along the top of there, just a faint line along the top, that will give me some idea of where I suppose the window frame edge is going to go. And what I then said was the distance between the door and the first window, I think, is roughly the same width as a window. So if I put that there like that, and then just quickly draw the line there, that will give me the starting point for the window. And then I can place that in something like that. Draw the first window in, and there we've got the first window in, and then we make the same width again. So the width for the window is, or to the next window, is going to be roughly the same distance. And now we can draw the second window on. Trying to get it roughly in the same place. And there's our second window. And so now from that window to the edge is about the same distance again. So that will give me where the edge of the building is. So that's where the edge of the building will be. Draw a line down there, and what I'm going to do is just add a little bit on so that when I come to cut it out and build it, I've got something to fold over. So there we go. That's roughly what I'm looking at. So this here's the window, like that, with the arch bit going over the top. And clearly this is all the relevant brick bit. So what I'm going to do is I'll repeat that there, and then I shall then cut this out. So the edge of what I need to then have is a little bit, of course, across the top of there, a little bit above it, to give me where the top of the roof line is. So it's this bit here. That obviously goes up to where the guttering is, and I'll do that, cut this out, and then start working out the measurements around the side of the building as well. So start trying to work out through the width or the width across there. So hopefully when we come back, I'll have a bit of that building done. But in the meantime, while I'm doing that, why don't we go across and have a look at how we're getting on at fixing that first point into place, and see if we can get the point motor done and the first one of the points working. So welcome back. I hope you enjoyed me banging my head. I was underneath the baseboards trying to fit that point motor and trying to get it all wired up correctly. Had to go back. One of the wires that's going to go to the switch to power the point motor came off, and I was also having problems getting power to the point. I've now managed to do that, although one side appears to be more powerful than the other. So the next thing to do is to test this bit of track and run a loco across it, and just hopefully it will be working. If it is, we can start moving around further to the curve. So let's see if we can get one running over the track. Well, I guess you could probably see it was running okay when the points were facing in one direction and not running okay in the other, and that sort of reflects where the where I got a drop off in power when I was testing it with the voltmeter. On one it was showing around 15, and on the other one it was down to about 9. So I guess what I will need to do is to just try and work out where that is. I know which wire it is. It's going to be the blue wire going into the point motor from the DCC track, because clearly the live going in, the brown wire going in, is feeding across okay into the frog point. So I know the connection isn't with the green wire that runs to the electro frog points. I'm hoping it will be the way I've got it connected into the bus wire, rather than the wire that then runs into the, or is soldered into the point. But I suspect, as with all these things, it's going to be the wire that gets soldered into the point, in which case what I will need to do is resolder that wire, so take it back off and try and resolder it. It did appear to be working when I was tested it on the workbench, but let's see. Well, I've just checked. I've reconnected the blue 0 volt DCC wire that's running to the 0 volt DCC bus, and I'm still getting exactly the same. So it's giving us a maximum voltage on one side and a reduced voltage on the other side when I test it. So this would appear to mean that the way I've soldered the blue DCC 0 volt wire into the point motor hasn't got a good enough connection. It's a bit of a dry joint, or whatever it is you electricians like to call it. So I'm going to have to take it off and resolder that one back on, and then I will test it on the workbench and I will try again. In the meantime, let's go back and have a look at how we're getting on with the station. I had a bit of trouble with the point motor, the electrics, as usual. Nothing strange there then, is there? Nothing new with us struggling with our electrical skills, but hopefully we will get that finished. So I'll just show you where I've got to with building the model on the station. So this is where I've got to so far. This was the bit you saw me doing earlier, and I've literally just repeated it on the other side, and I've now fixed the two side bits here, so the two side doors. It doesn't look too bad, so we'll need to look at the roof. I think it's roughly about the right size. I've placed it onto where the platform's going to be and had a look at it, and it looks reasonably good. So in terms of our picture, there we go. Obviously there's the, I'll just hold it up, so we've completed the main station bit, we've just got the toilet bit to do, and obviously the roof. So having worked out the rough dimensions of what this is going to look like, I think the next thing that I'm going to do is to order the plastic card and start transferring this onto the plastic card and start assembling it for real. Daunting. Assembling it for real. That real does sound very daunting. I'm also going to order order a door from York Model Making. So I've already got the windows, enough windows to cover both sides, so that should be okay. Well, that is just about all we've got time for in this video. It is slow progress, but I suppose realistically it is progress, which is good news. I'm reasonably happy with the way the model of the station is going. My first scratch build, and I have some, it feels like it's going in the right direction, but we'll have to wait and see once we've got the plastic card. Once again, hold up appears to be the electrics and those troublesome point motors. I'm sure we'll get there in the end. So until then, I'll just leave you with some more shots of the mock-up of the station.